and welcome to the BS and Beer Show, where BS stands for Building Science. BS and Beer is an independent grassroots movement to share building science knowledge through our local meetup groups and this, our Zoom show. The brew crew and our guests volunteer our time each month to bring you what we hope is a fun and informative discussion. We'd like to give a big thank you to IMW Group and Motif Media for holding everything together for us on the back end and making this happen. To help keep things light, keep the lights on, and keep spreading the good word, we want to heartily thank our sponsors, including the sponsor for tonight's show, Pinnacle Window Solutions, from whom Mike has a video to play.
Yes, speaking of technology, I'm more on the Travis end of things, but I think this will work. And just a couple of notes. In our practice runs, the audio has been quiet, so you may want to turn things up. And this the sponsorship also includes sponsoring our friends at Green Architects Lounge, the rebooted podcast, and so he's also referring to Green Architects Lounge, which you'll understand once we get there.
In lieu of the video, we may have Allison act it out. I believe,
Yeah.
Allison, you prepared a pantomime. Is that correct?
No.
For window, right?
Woo, pantomime. Oh,
Good morning. This is Chris, Logic Windows and Doors, proud sponsors of the BS and Beer Show, as well as Green Architects Lounge. Excited that after the first episode 15 years ago with Phil Kaplan and Chris Briley, it now has a larger audience, a bigger platform, so that we can push the envelope for good building, smart design. I started Logic Windows and Doors 10 years ago with a focus on providing European-style windows and doors here in the Northeast without having to wait 16 weeks, unload containers, deal with poor service. And so we've got this wonderful history which include multifamily projects, passive certified single families, low-rise passive multifamily, just a tremendous amount of backlog. We were involved in some university work and many fine homes here in the Northeast. It's our pleasure to offer Logic to a broader audience. We've taken 10 years to build a foundation where we feel like we're ready to serve a broader audience. We've been New England and Northeast based for these 10 years, but we look forward to providing this product nationwide as we move forward. Currently, we have two profiles, an 86 millimeter and an 82 millimeter. We have plans for an aluminum system, thermally broken. So lots of great things coming for Logic. I see the industry demand continuing to grow as we as a small group continue to talk about building science and high performance. It started as a small ember many years ago, 20 years ago, visiting some of these guys in the Northeast, some of the trendsetters, listening to Mark Rosenbaum and Rick Renner, working with the folks, the authors of the Pretty Good House book, Michael Maines, Chris Briley, Dan Colbert, Emily Mottram. This is sort of like the Plymouth Rock, perhaps, of high performance, where we just started clamoring and driving the industry forward. We're starting to see changes in the code here. And I think through our voices, we'll continue to demand higher performance. What I like to say is Logic is a product that is easily obtainable. It sort of falls in that builder grade Anderson/Marvin price point, and it's backed by a wonderful service team. So excited to be a sponsor and looking forward to a continued partnership with BS and Beer and the Green Architects Lounge. Cheers.
Well, thank you, Chris. I can vouch first-handedly for Chris's service and Logic Windows performance. They are a phenomenal resource for those that might want to utilize them. So now on with the show. I'm Ben Bogey. I am Director of Building Science for the Building Performance Cooperative here in Connecticut. Please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat so that friends and colleagues alike know that you're here. Tell us where you're joining from and, of course, what your beverage of choice is. This evening, I am drinking tea out of a tiny little cup. Because if I have any alcohol, I'm probably going to fall asleep and I have work to get done still. So visit our website at thebsandbeershow.com for information on local groups, links to our past shows on YouTube, join the mailing list, or information on how to start your own local group. And without further ado, let's raise a glass and listen to Mike's announcements.
Thank you, Ben. I am Mike Baines. I am drinking a Spindrift Blood Orange for similar reasons as Ben. And I do just want to add that I've known and worked with Chris for over 20 years, and he's a really good guy and has some really good products. And he's not only an episode sponsor for us, but he's a platform sponsor, which means he's one of 4 people really helping us keep the lights on here. And so we appreciate his work. Okay, announcements. We have a few. The International Builders Show, you may have heard of, is coming right up February 17th to 19th in warm and sunny Orlando, Florida. Ben, Travis, and Emily will be there promoting best practices as usual, as well as many of our local brew crew organizers and lots of other smart folks, including several I see in the audience right now. The day before IBS, February 16th, backed by popular demand, the Building Science Symposium returns as a full-day experience. It's a deep dive into the science of high-performance building with top builders who are putting building science into practice every day. From the moment you arrive until the day wraps up with a happy hour, it's an immersive day of learning, networking, and connecting with suppliers who bring building science products and systems directly to you. It's more than a pre-show event. It's a conference within a conference. It's a pre-show event that requires a separate registration from your IBS registration, and Travis says there's still a few seats left. It always gets great reviews, so grab a seat while you can. At IBS, there's a very special announcement. Travis will be announcing the cities for the rest of the 2026 Building Science Symposium series. Phew. Anything to add to that, Travis, or did I cover it well enough?
I think you got it, man. We're very
All right.
excited about that announcement. It's Wednesday in the Huber booth at 2 p.m. In Orlando. That's W3967, so the West Building. And that announcement precedes the Best of Social, which is always very well attended. So that will be a great opportunity for people to get the BS and Beer organizers together in that booth at that time for the announcement, to gather together and celebrate what BS and Beer has done, and also to announce the symposium series.
Excellent. Also coming up is Building Energy 26, which is NESI, the Northeast Sustainable Energy Association's annual conference in Boston. That's March 23rd and 24th. That's always a good experience. Following directly after the NESI conference, by design for once, the Journal of Light Construction's JLC Live is like a mini IBS, March 26th and 28th in Providence. Ben will be presenting there along with other trusted friends of the show. And if anybody else has other conferences or things of interest you want to post, feel free to post it in the chat box. And if you have ones you want me to announce next month, just email me, michael@michaelmaines.com or mike@machmanmaines.com. Our next show will be March 5th with special guest and our friend Danko Davidovich, Senior Building Science at Huber Engineered Woods, and notably a guitarist with the Building Science Boogie Band. He'll be talking about some of their testing methods, which we promise will be a lot more fun than it might sound. With that, I'll turn things over to Travis.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, I'm Travis Brungard. I'm here in Prairie Village, Kansas, which is just Kansas City, but it's on the Kansas side. Anyway, I am drinking one of my favorites. On the Missouri side at Urban Chestnut, you can get a Schnickel Fritz, which is a luxury that my wife afforded me on her last trip to St. Louis. My friend Jake, who lives close to there, didn't ever bother to bring me any. Thanks for nothing, Jake. We have the great fortune of having Allison Bailes with us again. Allison Bailes III is the author of a best-selling book on residential building science, A House Needs to Breathe, or Does It? He's also the founder of Energy Vanguard, my preferred mechanical design company. Energy Vanguard is a building science firm and BPI testing center located in Decatur, Georgia, and the company's focus there is on residential HVAC design, consulting, and training. Dr. Bailes has a PhD in physics from the University of Florida, and he's been involved with the field of building science since 2001 when he built a high-performance home out of structurally insulated panels. There's a link that Mike will drop in the chat so that you can order Allison's book. Tonight's topic for this discussion is 7 steps to better indoor air quality. And Allison, I would like you to introduce yourself and what you're drinking, and then we're going to talk about why does indoor air quality matter and how do we achieve it?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I am Allison, and I am drinking the Kool-Aid. I have been drinking the Kool-Aid for a long time. I am still drinking the Kool-Aid because you have to keep drinking the Kool-Aid. Actually, it's a Negroni, which is the adult version of Kool-Aid. So, the talk tonight is indoor air quality, and not all about mechanical systems, which is what was in the description earlier. I'm going to focus on just the indoor air quality side of things, and mechanicals are part of that, but not the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to talk about indoor air quality and how it's not just one thing. It's not just put an electronic air cleaner in your living room and you're good. It's not just filtration. It's not just ventilation. It's not even just build tight, ventilate right. There's a lot more to it than any of those things. And this is where I was last week. I was in St. Croix. It was really nice. And then I came back to Atlanta where the temperature was -9 Celsius, 15 Fahrenheit. So you can use the link in the chat if they put it in there. But also there's a QR code here. This is my book. I also have, and this will come back up at the end of the presentation as well. I have an indoor air quality online course available through HeatSpring now, and the QR code for that is there as well. Also, you can see that again at the end of the presentation because I want to dive in here. I had to pare this down from 200 slides. I ended up with 312 somehow, but we'll make it work. All right. Now, here is something very interesting. There is a trend that has, well, I shouldn't call it a trend. It's a fad. It's a craze. It's just idiocy. It's called house burping. Have you heard of house burping? There are these people out there. I think it started on TikTok. They said, "Oh, look, the Germans open their windows 3 times a day. We should do that too. No matter what the weather, no matter what the outdoor air quality is, let's just open our windows." No, house burping is stupid. Don't do it. And it's not a whole solution. It can make things worse. So here's a QR code to the article I just wrote about that today. And so house burping, yeah, stupid. All right. What we want is a layered approach to indoor air quality. We want to do a bunch of things. There is no silver bullet, no electronic air cleaner that can solve all your problems. And the research about electronic air cleaners, ionization and oxidation, those things are starting to show that they actually don't work that well anyway. But what we want is not the silver bullet. We want silver BBs. We want a layered approach like I'm talking about. There are 7 ways that I talk about. When you go online and search for ways to get good indoor air quality, you can see lists of anywhere from 2 things to do to like 37 things to do. I have 7. There are different ways of framing it. My way is 7. You start with source control. Keep the bad things out of the house. Air tightness is a form of source control, but it's keeping the bad stuff from outside the house from getting in. And then filtration. So when you have particles in the house, or sometimes gases, depending on what kind of filtration you have, you can remove those from the air with filtration. Ventilation is a dilution strategy, and moisture control, very important, because if your moisture gets out of control, you end up growing things and getting mold spores, and bad stuff happens. Pressure balancing is the one. I probably have the most slides of any of these things on pressure balancing because that's the one that people understand the least, and it's very important. And then monitoring, also an important step, because if you're not measuring, you don't know if you're getting anything. So I like to say that, there's two questions you want to ask. If you're looking, if you have a indoor air quality problem, let's say somebody has a health problem, you're trying to figure out what's going on. You're trying to find what might be causing it. One question is, where might the pollutants be coming from? If it's carbon monoxide, it could be coming from any combustion source inside the house. It could be coming from the garage. If it's ozone, it's probably not coming from outdoors because that reacts very quickly on the surfaces in the house. And the other question here is it a gas or a particle? If it's a gas, we have certain ways of dealing with those pollutants indoors. If it's a particle, we have a great way, and that's filtration. And it turns out particles are one of the worst indoor air pollutants. There was a research study that came out last year. I think they said it was about the 6 worst indoor air pollutants, and particulate matter was the top 2 of them, and particulates of different sizes. All right, the first one, and this is the most important one, source control. You want to keep bad stuff out of the house as much as possible. You don't want to bring stuff that's going to off-gas bad chemicals in the house. You don't want to do things in the house that's going to create bad things. And if you aren't doing things in the house that's creating bad things, like cooking, we all like to cook. We all, well, not all, but a lot of people like to cook. Most of us like to eat. And if you're cooking in the house, run the range hood. That is ventilation and also a form of source control. Here's a great quote from Max von Pettenkofer, a German guy in the mid-19th century. And I just wrote about this recently as well. The QR code will take you to that article. This is the modern version of his quote. The direct translation from his 19th century language is a little different, but basically the same meaning. So if you got manure in the house, get it out. Don't try to solve the problem by ventilating. So look for the things that are going to put bad stuff in the air. Volatile organic compounds. Carpet is one of the worst. If you're putting carpet in, the carpet pad and the carpet itself puts a lot of chemicals in the air. And so you can look for better types of carpet, or you can look for other types of flooring. Source control. Now, air tightness is a form of source control, keeping the stuff from outside from getting in. You want a good air barrier, and there are a lot of ways to do air barriers. We have a lot of knowledgeable people here in this audience, I'm sure, who know about air tightness. Air tightness is great. It's one of the easiest things you can do to improve all kinds of metrics for the house: comfort and energy efficiency and indoor air quality and durability. So we want air control. And in existing homes, you can do this as well. If you've got old, nasty, blown insulation in the attic, you suck it out, you seal up everything like Danny Orlando did in his attic here in Orlando a few years ago, and then you re-insulate. Air sealing is very important, and it turns out that you have to do it right. This, what you see here is wasted foam, because they knew the what, but not the why. Somebody gave them a can of foam and said, hey, go spray around that wall over there. And they had no idea why they were doing it or what the purpose was. So they wasted a bunch of foam there. And then, I don't know if Jeff Melvin's in the audience, but Jeff, here you are. This is a blower door test, because air tightness not only is one of the best things we can do, but it's one of the easiest things to measure. We can test how well we have done with our air sealing. We just set up this fan in our doorway or a window sometimes. And a lot of times, probably people here tonight are using a smaller fan than you see there, because when you get a really good job on the air sealing, you don't need such a big fan. All right, so source control, air tightness is where we're starting. Filtration. So we got stuff in the air, we want to remove it. We are removing mostly particles with filtration. Standard filtration removes just particles. You can remove gases with filtration, but then you need the activated charcoal filtration, and that can remove some of your volatile organic compounds. But standard filtration is removing particles. And particles are important because especially the smaller they are, the larger particles, like sand, sand isn't going to make it very far into your respiratory system. But the PM10 and the PM2.5 and the PM.1, that gets deep into your lungs, and from the lungs it gets into the bloodstream. From the bloodstream it gets to your heart, where it can cause problems. From the heart it can be pumped to your brain, where it can eventually cause strokes. PM2.5, very bad. So filtration is what you want there. And to remove that stuff, you want filtration that is very efficient. So you want to be at MERV 13 usually, or higher. MERV 13 is a good balance between the efficiency of filtration and the size of filter you have to install, because the more efficient the filtration, the more resistant it is to airflow. So the more you have to embiggen the filter. And when you make that filter bigger, sometimes you run out of space. So MERV 13 is a good balance between resistance to airflow and filtration efficiency. The MERV scale is developed by ASHRAE. It goes from 1 to 16, not 20. It goes from 1 to 16. And MERV 13 is where you want to be. Here's a MERV 13 filter in our office. It's 4 inches thick and pleated and does a great job. We change this thing about once every 6 months or a year. This doesn't get a lot of use, so it can go for a long time, which is good because these are not cheap filters. There's a lot more I can say about filtration, but I'm trying to keep this brief so we can have a good discussion afterwards. Let's get into ventilation now. So this old saying, build tight, ventilate right. Been around since the 80s, I think. And Jim White from Canada, I believe, was the one who first said this. Joe Stiebrick told me. It makes you think that that's all you need to do. Just air tightness and then good ventilation, and you're set for good indoor air quality. Well, that's not true, because one thing that can happen with ventilation is you might need to turn it off sometimes. So if you're depending on just air tightness and ventilation, what happens when you get that wildfire smoke outdoors and you have to turn the ventilation system off? You're not you've lost half of your strategy there. So you got to do something else. We need this whole panoply of methods that I'm talking about tonight. But ventilation is an important one. So when we can ventilate, we want to ventilate. And ideally, we want to do balanced ventilation. But there's also exhaust only. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't recommend that one almost ever. Supply only can work. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then balanced ventilation is where you want to be if you can. That's what I have in my house. That's in our HVAC design work at Energy Vanguard. We recommend balanced ventilation. We put in balanced ventilation in a lot of our designs. On the supply only side, there is the central fan integrated supply. So this is a duct from the outside to the return side of the air handler or furnace. So when the system is running, it can pull air in through that duct and mix it in with the air from the house and send it in conditioned and dehumidified, and if the system is running. But it can also pull in air when the system is not calling for heating or cooling. So you have to have a controller to do that. You need to have a damper because you don't want this thing always open. That would just be duct leakage. We don't want extra duct leakage. So we want a damper on here so we can close it and run it only when necessary. These things can work very well. I have seen a lot of them poorly installed. They are sometimes not controlled properly. They don't have dampers. It's just a duct leak. A lot of times when they have the controllers, they're just at the defaults or maximum rate. So you have to set these things properly as well. The controllers are very important. Another way to do supply only ventilation is with a ventilating dehumidifier. We spec a lot of these for the humid climates in the South, and you bring outdoor air in, you or mixing it with the indoor air that's recirculating and going through the dehumidifier, and you send it into the house. So you get your ventilation air, you get moisture control through the dehumidifier as well, although not always simultaneous. Then there's balanced ventilation. That you can do that in different ways. You can do it with a heat recovery ventilator, where the two air streams pass by each other in the core and they don't mix, but they exchange only heat. Then there's an energy recovery ventilator where the two air streams don't mix, but they exchange heat and moisture. And then there's balanced without recovery, where you're just blowing into the house in one place and blowing out of the house somewhere else. So you have the same amount of air going in and out, but you're not getting any of the heat or moisture recovery. That's very rare. If somebody's doing balanced ventilation, they're almost always doing HRV or ERV. And I will say most people need an ERV, not an HRV. So here is the core from my ERV. It's a Zender, and I like the way they name this. There are two air streams I mentioned, but there are four conditions of the air. The extract air is the air being pulled from the house. So that's at the room temperature and humidity conditions. And once it goes through the heat exchanger, heat and moisture exchanger, it's the exhaust air. So that's exhausted to the outside. And then the outdoor air comes in and goes through the heat and moisture exchanger, the core, and it becomes the supply air. So I really like the way they've named the four conditions there. So that's ventilation, very important. I'll show you a little bit more about that when I get to monitoring. Moisture control. Liquid water is the first thing you got to control, because you can destroy a house very quickly if you're not controlling the liquid water, the rain, basically. That's the main one. Gus Handegord, famous Canadian building scientist, said the three biggest problems in buildings are water, and what was the third one? Water. That's right. Water, and water. So you got to control the water, the liquid water first. And a good air and water barrier on the outside of the house will do that for you if you get the details right. This is one of Matt Reisinger's houses that I saw in Austin one time. But liquid water comes from other places as well. The supply plumbing side carries water in it, and sometimes they leak. Sometimes the drains leak, and when they leak, you can end up with indoor air quality problems because you start growing stuff. But it's not just liquid water. Water vapor can be a problem too. And if you cook a lot, if you have aquariums, if you have water features inside the house, if you like to open the windows on humid days or really dry days, humidity control is not just about high humidity, it's also about low humidity. So dehumidifiers are a good way to control the water vapor in the house. And in humid climates, and even in cold climates where you have humid summers, we expect these in some of those houses as well, because in cold climates, a lot of times heat pumps are significantly oversized for cooling. So the air conditioner side or the cooling side of the heat pump is not going to control the humidity like we want. So we often need supplemental dehumidification if we want to really control that humidity. Now, here's the fun one. So house burping. No, don't do house burping. But let's talk about this. So let's say you open the windows or the doors in this case, and you're trying to get nice outdoor fresh air into the house. Well, is that going to work? Not always. You have a pathway, but there are two requirements for air movement. For that outdoor air to come in and for indoor air to go out, you need not just a pathway, you also need a pressure difference. And generally, if you've had any kind of building science class, you've learned about the pressure differences and where they come from. They come from wind, they come from stack effect, they come from mechanical systems. I'm not going to go into detail about those except some new ones. And I'm going to talk also about pathways. So here is one possible pathway. If you have a pressure difference, let's say negative pressure in the house, here's a possible pathway. Air can come down that flue for the natural draft water heater. And guess what? All the exhaust gases from that water heater when it fires are coming into the house. So that's not good for indoor air quality. Here's another one. This is another pathway. If you have negative pressure in the house and you've got this duct to the outside through the bath fan in New Orleans, this is something that can happen too. Now let's talk about some other aspects of the pressure differences. So when stack effect mechanical systems, yeah, put a fan in the house like a dryer and blow air to the outside, you're depressurizing the house. But here's some other ways you can depressurize the house. Unbalanced duct leakage. This was a supply duct in an attic. It was very cool near that duct when I found it. And unbalanced supply duct leakage in an unconditioned attic can depressurize the house because not all of the air that you are conditioning is going back to the house. So you end up with a negative pressure in the house that causes infiltration. It could cause backdrafting of the water heater. And another one is missing return air pathways. Every room with a supply needs to have a return air pathway to get back. If you have a central return in a house, or if you don't have dedicated returns in every room with a supply, there has to be a return air pathway of some sort. So the air coming out here needs to get to here. So you've got to have some kind of return air pathway. If there's no doors that could be closed between the two, that's your return air pathway. But if you have doors that can be closed, you need something. It could be an undercut. This can work if the airflow supplied to that room is low enough. If you're like 70, 80 CFM of supply air to that room, a properly sized undercut could be enough. If you have a higher amount of airflow to that room, you might need something else like a transfer grill. This is from Tamarack. They're perfect balance, which you can put in the bottom of a door. This was a condo I used to live in. I put them in there because this bedroom in particular was really bad. It got up to about 6 pascals of pressure difference when the door closed and the air handler on. Jumper ducts are another way. This is a photo from Mike McFarland. This is just 2 grills connected by a short duct, and it allows the pressure that builds up in the room with the closed door, to get back into the hallway where it can then go to the central return. All right, monitoring. Ooh, I forgot about my drink. I think Ben or somebody said that this is the BS and Beer show, where BS stands for building science. And tonight, BS stands for building science still, but beer stands for Negroni. All right. Let's talk about monitoring. I like monitoring. These are a few of my monitors. I've gotten another one since. Haven has a nice room air monitor out that I have as well. So I've got 2 AirThings monitors there. I've got the Aware Element. This is in my den, and this is my bedroom. I've got a Hobo data logger. Of course, everybody's got those, right? An Aware Element for my bedroom. And here's what happened when I got the ERV in my house running a little over a year ago. Before, when we would close the bedroom door at night, you can see sometimes it would go up pretty high, like almost 1400 right there. And after the ERV was running, look at that, less than 800 every night. Woo, yay. It works. Here's another thing that I learned with monitoring, and that is that, this is chemicals on my Aware Element, one of my Aware Elements. So chemicals is volatile organic compounds, the gases that excite the monitor. And in this one, you can see that big spike there, 4,500, way higher. So most of the time it's green, 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 green. And this one event caused it to spike way up high, 4,500 parts per billion. And can you guess what it was? Whiskey. Whiskey will send your VOC shooting way up. Don't get alarmed about that. Your alarm can be alarmed about it, but you don't have to be alarmed about it, because there's nothing wrong with the smell of a good scotch, in my opinion. You may disagree. Another good one to have is a low-level carbon monoxide monitor. If you have any combustion in the house, if you have an attached garage where you have combustion engines, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, I hope you don't have a combustion leaf blower. But if you have any, a combustion vehicle that you drive into the garage, have a low-level CO monitor because these things are much better than the standard UL listed CO monitors. You want to know when it's 10, 20, 30 parts per million, and those UL listed ones will not tell you that. It has to be like 70 parts per million for 2 hours before it will alarm. So get a good low-level CO monitor. TrueTech Tools, by the way, is a good place to buy these things. Outdoor air quality is another thing you can monitor, and you don't have to buy special monitors for that. You can, but you can just look at the weather app. So this is Atlanta one day when I looked at it, it was 21, and this is what it tells me. It tells me that ozone was elevated that day. It was 34 parts per billion, and it gives me the levels of the other ones in here. So that's all very important and good to look at. All right, I've kind of rushed through a lot of this, but let's do the quick wrap up here. So source control, keep the bad stuff out. Air tightness, keep the bad air out and measure it. Take filtration, you want to take the bad stuff out of the air. And then for ventilation, we want to dilute the bad stuff with good stuff. Moisture control, we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that the air can get back to the air handler and that we're not creating pressure imbalances in the house that drive infiltration or backdrafting. This, I didn't show you this. Oh, I did show you this. Yeah, this is my bedroom CO2 level. So we want to monitor so we know what's going on, so we know if we're having an effect. And I think, oh yeah, so we want to do the 7 steps because there are no silver bullets. And here's that QR code for my book again, if you want that. And there is the QR code for the IAQ course. And I think we could take questions.
Good stuff as always, Allison.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. We had a lot of audience questions, and I have a few questions as well.
Start with your questions, Mike, because I don't know what your brain is cooking on, but we do have a lot in the audience, so we can follow with those after you get yours.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of being the host. You get to ask your questions.
Yeah. Currently, I'm cooking on VOCs and 16% relative humidity, which is not fun. Anyway, Allison, can you explain the difference? Is there a difference between IEQ and IAQ? Indoor air quality is there a difference? I seem to see IEQ more often these days.
Yes, I had a slide on that, and it's in my book. There's IAQ, indoor air quality, is one part of indoor environmental quality. Indoor environmental quality includes IAQ, it includes thermal comfort. What is the environment like? Do you feel too hot, too cold? Do you feel drafts? And there's odors, which is sort of related, can be related to IAQ, but not always. There's light, and David Warfel was on here, 2 months ago, I think. And if you want to know anything about lighting, he's your guy. He's amazing. I always learn new stuff when I hear him talk. Let's see. So light, odors, sound is another one. So noise transmission through the building enclosure from outdoors or from one room to another indoors can be an annoyance. Vibrations is another one. And I think I've covered them all, the main ones anyway.
Okay.
What about
great.
crippling loneliness? I feel like crippling loneliness is an indoor environmental condition that. Oh no, that's a different thing. Sorry. Continue, Mike.
I just had one more. I noticed you said you don't need MERV 16, MERV 13 is enough. What do you give up if you like? I know it takes a lot more energy to push air through a MERV 16. What do you give up by going from MERV 16 down to MERV 13?
Um, well, MERV 13, so I've got MERV 13 in my house, and my PM level is almost always really low. I mean, sometimes when we're cooking, it'll spike up briefly, but it comes down quickly because we have um, ducted mini splits, and the blower's always running. So you may be on low speed, but it's always moving some air through, and so it's always filtering as well. Um, so if you have a lot of airflow, if you have enough airflow, MERV 13 is really all you need. Now, let me back up a little bit and say that there are some people who are really sensitive to a lot of different pollutants and particles, maybe some of them. And well, yeah, because mold spores are particles. And for those people, MERV 16 may be what they need. So I'm not going to say you never need MERV 16, but for most people who don't have any kind of real chemical or particle sensitivities, MERV 13 is generally enough.
Great, thank you.
And you can do MERV 16, you just have to size it properly. And the way I size them properly is by going to look at Allison's article about filter face velocity. And
Yep.
you learn the basic little bit of math that allows you to size the filter properly. And then you can have low static pressure ducted heat pumps that can
Yep.
push through MERV 15 and MERV 16 without any issues. They just last for like 2 years when you do that.
Yeah.
The filter, that is, not the heat pump, the filter.
Phew.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the comment you made, Mike, about it, taking more energy for MERV 16, what Ben said, makes that not true. If you size it properly, it doesn't take more energy. If you put a MERV 16 in a filter slot size for MERV 13, then it, it may take more energy depending on whether you have an ECM blower or a PSC blower.
All right.
PSC, actually, you'll use less, but you won't get the airflow.
And that's the rub. That's why
Yep.
these things are complicated and why it's so beneficial to involve a mechanical designer at the onset of your project so that
Yep.
you don't misstep and create um, comfort issues, equipment damage issues, insufficient filtration.
Yeah.
It's a really
And
important piece.
if you have those problems, you just call Travis because he knows all the settings and how to get in there. And
Yeah, you press these three buttons on the remote with this hand, and then you hold it this way and
Yeah.
watch to see what the colors on the lights are, and then you use the app on your phone with this hand. It's perfect. It's very
Oh,
user friendly.
don't forget to put the right code in at the beginning.
That's right. Well, that's the combination of buttons. It's if you
That-
learn, I think Chariots of Fire on the trumpet and play that, then The Legend of Zelda will open the magic door, and the HVAC will work fine.
There you go.
Sorry,
Uh,
it's been a rough week.
All right, what else we got?
Chris asked a question I hear regularly and occasionally have myself. Any reason to not tie the ERV into the HVAC return? So I think that's the ERV return into the HVAC return.
It can work if you do that. The best way to do it is have independent ducting, but you can make it work by tying it into because sometimes you just don't have space. Um, Architects and house designers don't always give us mechanical designers enough space to do everything we want, and so sometimes you have
money is also a factor sometimes too.
money is a factor. So you can make it work. You have to know what you're doing because now you've got two blowers, and that you don't want them fighting against each other. You have to do it in a way that they're cooperating, not fighting. Same thing with tying a dehumidifier in.
I think those are almost always compromises that are made for financial reasons. We do see, I mean, just because the ERV ducts are so small, usually if you can run forced air ductwork, you don't have any problem running the ERV ductwork through the remaining spaces. It is occasionally a problem, but it's almost always a matter of, oh, you want me to buy Comfo tube and another 12 hours? Hmm, that's where we get the rub. And the less choices we give our clients, the more we can get those things through.
Yeah.
Another one, Chris has another good one, but first, I like this one. How can I improve indoor air quality with a cat in a litter box? From Cody Scott.
Yeah. Well, I have a picture somebody sent me. It's not one that I saw. I think somebody sent it to me of a return grill right above the litter box.
Oh, there you go.
That is not the way to do it. You don't
No.
want to do that because now you are taking all that stuff and you are spreading it around the house. And yeah, I mean, any particulates coming off of that, if you have good filtration, would get filtered out, or most of it anyway.
Sure.
But there are also gases coming off of there. So yeah, you don't want to do that. I know somebody who had a litter box in her laundry room and had a little hood built over it with a small exhaust fan. Um, as long as you keep that small enough and don't depressurize the house very much, that should be okay. Like a little muffin fan.
Here's one from the Q&A. Allison, can you talk a bit about the availability of low tonnage HVAC equipment for passive level homes here in the US? That seems to be one that we run into, is like you can't get systems small enough for some of the areas we're trying to cover.
Well, so the standard, I mean, the smallest standard variable capacity system you can get is about 6,000 BTUs per hour, half a ton. And that can work pretty well because if you get good equipment, it can modulate down to about 1,500 to 2,000 BTUs per hour, which does a lot. Now, if you try to do that, if you're putting one of those like a ductless unit, 6,000 BTU per hour that goes down to 1,500. But if you're putting that in a bedroom by itself, and that bedroom has a load of 500 BTUs per hour, then you've just wasted a lot of money because you have put in what Adam Muffich, I think he says his last name. Adam Muffich calls that the most expensive fixed capacity system that you can buy, an oversized mini split. Because it's always bottomed out. If the load is 500 and might go up to 700 in extreme weather, and the lowest this thing can go is 1,500, it is never going to use any variable capacity. The most expensive fixed capacity system you can buy.
It's a two-stage, and the two stages are on or off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Technically correct.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like good equipment design to me.
I have a personal question to slide in here. So you say supply only, right? Never exhaust only, but what about in cold climates? Does that still hold true?
So, exhaust only, yeah. I mean, if you're going to do exhaust only, do it in a cold climate. Don't do it in a hot, humid climate, especially because yeah, you can be doing bad things inside your walls if you're doing exhaust only in Florida. In a cold climate, I mean, if you just don't have the budget for anything else, then yeah, you can put some controls on your bath fans and your range hood, and that's maybe better than nothing. If you have an attached garage though, so you're going to be sucking some air from the garage.
Yeah, and a lot of northern locations have high radon levels. So unless the house is leaky enough that it won't become depressurized, that that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Armando asks, can we convince HVAC equipment manufacturers to install remote monitoring gadgets for all of the equipment that gets installed for places that homeowners never go to?
Pay attention, Armando. I can't even convince equipment manufacturers to install a switch instead of a 26-part plan to change a setting. I can't convince them of anything, but maybe Allison can.
Well, probably not. I mean, we've been asking for smaller than 6,000 BTU per hour equipment for a while. And we keep hearing that it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. We haven't seen it yet. Not for residential. I think you can get 3 or 4,000 BTU per hour equipment for on the big commercial systems, VRF systems, but not for residential.
Or hydronics. We're starting to see it trickle in hydronics now, some of the small emitters for air to water systems.
This is a good one from the Q&A that I think will also please Armando, because he's always trying to make us think outside of our niche, highly custom homes. From Morgan asks, what do you think is the single easiest or most obvious way that big production builders could improve the indoor air quality and comfort of the entry-level homes they are building? And or what could home buyers do that are priced out of better homes? What's the low hanging fruit?
Well, I'll give you three. So source control is number one above all. So pay attention to the materials they're putting in. Don't put in stuff that's going to off gas like crazy. Get better carpets or don't put in carpet, and pay attention to the adhesives and sealants and all that stuff that you use that off gases. Number two, air tightness. Now, a lot of production builders are having to do this because it's in the codes in most places now. Well, whether it's enforced or not is another issue, but air tightness is huge. That can help a lot. And then filtration. Filtration is probably the one that's the most neglected, because it's they don't understand it very well. A lot of HVAC contractors don't understand filtration. I've talked to people at HVAC contracting companies that say, "Oh, MERV 13 will never work, and if I see it, I rip it out." So, yeah. Right. So good filtration, definitely.
How about demand responsive ventilation? Is there anything that you're seeing out in the marketplace? Speaking of things we've been asking the industry for a while, anything you've seen that strikes your interest or move in that direction?
Yes, the best system on the market for that right now is probably the Serve 2, made by Build Equinox in Illinois, and it's a great system. It has a small heat pump. It has outdoor air coming in. It's got dampers, so it can recirculate air. It can dehumidify a little bit. It can heat a little bit. It can cool a little bit. And they put monitoring in, and they promote this as an indoor air quality device, not just a ventilation device, but it's an indoor air quality device. And Ty and Ben Newell are the guys there, they're both engineers. Great company, great product. It's not very well known, but the Serve 2 at Build Equinox is great product. We've done designs on some of those.
Jeffrey's in the chat saying Haven also.
Haven IAQ, yes. Haven is based in Vancouver, BC, and they have monitors that are looking at the air going through the system, the heating and cooling system, and it can control a dehumidifier, a humidifier, filtration, ventilation. And so, yeah, that's another good one. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, that sounds familiar. Jeffrey Sauls? Is that what you said?
You met that guy before?
I think so.
He's a good one. Hey, I don't want you to get out of here without addressing what might be the most important question I saw in the chat. This is critical. It's from Dr. Doom. What is your recipe for the perfect Negroni, and how precise do those ratios need to be? Does that matter?
The perfect Negroni. Well, there is such a thing as a perfect Manhattan. I've never heard of the perfect Negroni, but it's one of the easiest cocktails to make. Is 3 ingredients equal parts with an orange twist. So, and don't do a lot of ice. Equal. And I measure it out. I don't eyeball it. So
it's the engineering.
And I make it in batches. Like a cup of each thing in a bottle. Keep it in the fridge.
Will you show us your twist? I'd like to see it.
My twist. Oh yeah, here's my twist.
I thought that was about the assembly method. I thought it was a physical maneuver. That's very different.
No, I can't do an orange twist. I can do a red twist, but I don't know why. But for some reason, whenever I'm on these shows, my face turns red. If I'm sitting in front of my computer just doing work by myself, it doesn't. But It was not this red when we started. I don't know why that is.
Stirred
Oompa
or
Loompa
shaken?
condition.
That's what?
Stirred. Oompa Loompa condition, he said. Stirred or shaken?
Stirred. Oh, no, you don't shake a Negroni.
You never shake a baby or a Negroni. Those are the
Right.
rules.
Right. And, you know, I heard recently that, you know, the whole James Bond thing, shaken, not stirred, that was meant as a diss at Americans because martinis shouldn't be shaken. They should be stirred.
Yes.
Not that I know because I don't drink martinis, but
We've had a few questions sort of relating to smaller homes and more high performance homes. What do you think of a Luno system, or Gregor Bairn mentioned the Panasonic Nano X? What do you think of those point source reversing type ventilators?
the Luno system, I don't have any direct experience with. They seem cool. I have heard they can be noisy, but I don't. As I said, I don't have direct experience, and I see some Ben nodding. They also seem expensive for what you get, but you know, you also don't have ductwork, and you don't have to worry about tying in with an air handler, it's just ductwork or anything like that. So they're simple. It's just, you know, two fans in two different places. One's blowing in while the other's blowing out, and then they switch, and you got the ceramic core, so you got some heat exchange happening. The Panasonic, what do you call it? I haven't heard of whatever it was.
Yeah,
Nano?
it's the Nano X. Greg's in Australia, so he may get something we don't. But
Maybe it's an Australian product that is not for sale here, or maybe it's something new. I mean, their new thing here is the Oasis system, and I don't know a lot about that yet. But
there are a lot of additional options similar to Lunos, like the decentralized small ventilation things that are showing up in the market now. We just used a couple of different ones on an in-law apartment where it's like there's no way we could justify putting a ducted system in because there wasn't room. So we did two of these little smaller units, and I was actually surprised when we started digging out how many of those kind of smaller decentralized units are now on the market.
Yeah.
And they can be noisy if you put them in a bedroom. Some people have some serious complaints about that.
Yeah. Well, I have a Zender in my house, and I love it. I had three guys who used to work for Zender come down and help me install it. We got it about 75% installed in one weekend a year and a half ago. Well, almost 2 years ago now. And I got it fired up about a little over a year ago. It keeps our CO2 level low, and I've played around with the ventilation rate because you need to look at what's happening in the house. You know, how fast does the filter load? Do you really need it as high as the designer said you need it? And another thing, here's one thing that a lot of people, and this is not just ventilation, when installers put mechanical equipment in, a lot of times they don't change it off the default settings. They need to call Travis to get those settings changed. And Travis doesn't want to do it because of his experience.
It's true.
So most systems are sitting on their default settings. They, you know, on air handlers, they don't change the speed tap or the static pressure setting. On ERVs and HRVs, they don't change the airflow rate. So I had a call from a client a couple of months ago, and he said that his house was too dry. He lives in Seattle, and he says his house was too dry. And so we talked for a little bit, and then I asked him, well, what ventilation rate are you running at? Because I think we had spec'd like 180 CFM or something, and it's a 4,700 square foot house, and we spec'd around 200 CFM, and he put in two Panasonic IntelliBalance 200s, so 200 CFM each is what they're rated at. And I asked him to send me a picture of the control settings, and they were both set for 200 CFM, 60 minutes per hour. So they were wide open. So he's getting 400 CFM. And even though Seattle's not that cold, it's cool. So cool air is dry air too. If it's 40 degrees outdoors, and your maximum dew point is going to be 40 degrees. And so you can dry out the indoor air significantly with bringing lots of outdoor air in, even through an ERV.
So I know we are just about at time, but I want to sneak this one in because it closes the loop on Greg's question about that Panasonic Nano X. He copy and pasted some marketing from their website. And the way the Nano X does its magic apparently is by using ions and hydroxyl radicals. Allison, what can you tell us about ionization and hydroxyl radicals for air cleaning?
Panasonic. Oh, Panasonic. Really?
Panasonic
Oh.
Australia, though, so can't yell at our North American friends just yet.
Oh, that's disappointing. No, no. Don't
There
do
goes our
uncontrolled.
Panasonic sponsorship.
Don't do uncontrolled chemistry experiments with your indoor air. That's
what
all
is
I
that?
can
What
say.
explain that, Allison? What are you talking about? What is this chemistry?
So the hydroxyl radicals, hydrogen peroxide, any kind of oxidation or ionization, you're putting highly reactive stuff into the air. And the idea is that it's going to react only with the bad stuff and neutralize it or make it better. But I mean, in reality, the research is coming out now. It's not doing that. It's not doing even as well as some of the established technologies out there, filtration and ventilation. Ultraviolet lamps can work fine if they're installed and engineered properly. They often aren't, but they can work well. But yeah, oxidation, ionization, ozone. I recommend people stay away from those.
Well, with that, I think we have outstayed our welcome with you. Allison was very generous with his time, and we very much appreciate his leadership in the industry. But we do try to keep these to an hour now. And if you need more information, more of the greatness of Allison Bailes, you can certainly sign up for your blog. How would someone get your blog sent to them, Allison? I know they can go and buy the book, and you got the QR codes, but how would they find you?
So Energy Vanguard, energyvanguard.com/blog is our blog. And well, anywhere on our website, energyvanguard.com, you'll find one of the little sidebar boxes to subscribe to our newsletter. And I send out a newsletter usually once a week. Although the last 2 weeks I didn't send one out. I was in St. Croix last week. Did I mention that? It was great. Oh man. So yeah, sign up there and you'll get the newsletter. So yeah, that's it.
All
I
right.
think you can also find Dr. Bailes, if I haven't screwed this up yet, you might be able to find him at a symposium late this year. We'll talk soon. Come see us at IBS and we'll unfold.
That would be great. All right, I got to go burp my house now. Just kidding. I'm not doing that.
Thanks, everyone.
Night all.